Will you lay down your armor? I've never seen you so guarded. Is this what ambition will do to you nowadays? Find your smile, then take its place. How much do you want it? It sure as hell does seem important. You might want to slow things down, 'cause your heart rate's increasing, your breathing is unsteady now. I have done it again. I'm talking to myself, debating my chances. If I can't find ways to push past this, now I'm lost, locked inside of my thoughts with the devil. So please save me. I'm begging, this love has been taken from me. Lost, who am I then when all of my dreams have been taken away? I'm begging, anxiety, don't speak my name. I'm so lost, please help me. I'm so lost, please come save me. I'm begging. I'm so lost, please help me. I'm so lost, please come save me. Hi, and welcome to another installment of finishing every song on my hard drive. In this series, I'll attempt to finish every single abandoned project sitting on my hard drive. And currently, we've finished 3 songs. And yes, you know what that means. It means that the song you heard in the beginning of this video, which is the song we started in episode 4 of this series, well, that is now a finished song. And it came in 2 parts, a part A and B, and it's available on Patreon for you to listen to right here, right now. The song might make it onto an album one day, and when that happens, you can of course listen to it completely free of charge on any given streaming service. But until that happens, it is only available for my patrons. But Patreon really is just a very cheap way to download all of my music. So consider doing that if you like the song. But today though, we are going to talk about lyrics as well as vocals, because that's the only thing I've added since last episode, and especially show you an often overlooked vocal processing technique. So let's dive into it, shall we? As you can see down here, this song has over 200 tracks, and the majority of them are vocal recordings, because we have this huge vocal soundscape. But the interesting thing is that the main vocal is just 1 track. That's all it is for the most part. So it simply is this. I am deeply exhausted. It seems like in life there's no time for pauses. But as you can probably tell, below this layer I've got 3 vocal effects. But these vocal effects are only there to accentuate what the main vocal is already doing. So this first vocal effect is just a form and shifted vocal. It's the same vocal but form and shifted, and it appears at certain times to just give that part of the song, that part of the lyric, a bit more depth. So by itself, the form and shifted one sounds like this, and you could see it fading in here slowly. Then fades out and fades in again. Then fades out. So it's just to enhance certain parts of the song, right? And the same goes for this next effect. And this is just a distorted as well as modulated version of the exact same vocal take, and it's simply there to just enhance the vocals again at certain parts. So this layer sounds like this. Later on it sounds like this. And that's it. Then the third effect is just a high-pitched version of the exact same vocal take. So that just adds even more depth to the vocals at that certain part of the song. And it sounds like this. And when you then add all of these effects together, you get something that sounds like this.
Find peace with myself and what your response is.
Which just has way more depth to it than if we just had the main vocal all by itself.
Find peace with myself and what your response is.
Another thing you might have noticed is that for certain parts of the song, I'm really heavily auto-tuning my vocals. Whilst there is auto-tune on my vocals throughout the entire song, you would have to have greatly trained ears to be able to hear that auto-tune effect when it's at its lowest. But then, when I then crank it for certain parts of the song, I not only get the benefit of the auto pitch in itself, I can then use the auto-tune as an effect, and then that effect helps accentuate that part of the song as well. So it just plays in with all of the other vocal effects I've added there. An example of this can be found right here. So this red line is an automation for the depth of the auto-tune, i.e. how heavily it is auto-tuned. So follow the red line and listen to how the auto-tune enters here.
Engaging with darkness, but I know you don't know of the power it holds over me.
So it goes from barely anything to heavily auto-tuned. Let's listen to that again.
Engaging with darkness, but I know you don't know of the power it holds over me.
And due to how significant the auto-tune difference is, you can use auto-tune not only as a way of basic pitch correcting, but as a vocal effect in and of itself, and it sounds awesome. Now there's a certain vocal treatment I already knew about, but kind of had to rediscover for this song. And it's the fact that prior to adding any plugin whatsoever, you can EQ, you can compress, you can de-ess, and you can pitch correct your vocals, right? So before adding any plugin, you can achieve this to a certain extent. So let me tell you how to go about this. When it comes to equalizing your vocals, it actually already starts in the recording stage. So the closer you stand to your microphone, the more of the lower frequencies you capture. So as an example, for this song, for the verses, I was closer to the microphone because I wanted more of the lower frequencies. I wanted my voice to be more present, more in your face. But then when it came to the chorus, I wanted the exact opposite effects. I wanted more clarity for the highs, but not really the intimacy of the low mids. So I stood further back from the microphone to achieve this. So that covers some of the equalizing even prior to adding an EQ plugin, right? Now let's discuss compression. So I've pulled up my main vocal track here again, and if you click your vocal recording, you can see this gain fader down in the corner. And when you drag this one, you can either make the signal louder or softer, right? So in that way you can chop up your entire vocal recording, and if something really isn't like sticks out, you can gain it accordingly, and that way you can kind of compress the signal. If you take a look at my vocal recording here, you can see that I've chopped it up as well. And then take a look at this gain level down here. And let's call this 5.75 the baseline gain level, right? If I go to this chopped up vocal part, it's only 3.75, so I decrease the gain here to compress the signal, right? And let's take a look at this one. This is -4. So whoa, what's the deal here? Did I just scream that out? No, this is an S. And my S was way too loud. So this translates into the de-essing part. You can chop up your S's, your F's, your T's, because they tend to be too loud, and some de-esses really suck. So you can de-ess manually just by using the gain fader. I had to rediscover that myself, because that's genius. It's way easier to manage that way, as you can just chop it up, decrease the gain, and then you've got a perfectly inline de-essing. The last thing I mentioned was pitch correction. So take a look below that gain fader we just talked about. You've got a pitch wheel, and this wheel will either decrease or increase the pitch of your recording. Now, the best way to be in pitch is of course to sing in pitch, but then sometimes you are like 35 cents off before it like really sits, and then you can just drag this pitch wheel until you are then in pitch. Now, why would you use pitch correction rather than just slapping on auto-tune and let that do the work for you? Well, the thing is, with auto-tune, that tends to introduce a lot of artifacts to your voice as it pitches. Whereas with a pitch correction, it doesn't. It still sounds like your voice. I'd say unless you tune it above 2 semitones, then it will start warping a bit weirdly. But below that, I'd say you're pretty safe to still have the sound of your voice, but in pitch. But the gold nugget is, if you combine the two techniques, you can pitch correct till you are on pitch, and then use auto-tune to sustain the pitch without introducing too many artifacts when pitching, right? So it's just a way better way to get a clean, not too auto-tuned sound. And it definitely worked well for my track, I'd say. The last thing I want to cover in this video is of course the lyrics for this song. And I will admit that it was quite difficult for me to write these lyrics, as it is about anxiety and I'm drawing from my own experiences with anxiety. So I had to sit down and really make sense of a time in my life that didn't make sense, right? So that was a difficult task for me, and I'm not sure if I really did a good job. First verse, not too happy with it. Second verse, feel like I nailed it. And my success criteria for successful lyrics is, if you don't have to explain it, it's probably quite good, right? And I feel like the second verse did that for me, at least. Now I will say one last thing, and that is, you don't have to write songs that are personal or drawing from your own experiences in that way. But if the song calls for it, definitely don't shy away from doing so. Now that is it for this episode, and that is it for this song. As said, it is on Patreon if you want to listen to parts A and parts B of this song in full. And I'm really looking forward to seeing which project we're going to draw next. I'll see you there.
Engaging with darkness, but I know you don't know of the power it holds over me. Can I tear down this armor, find peace with myself and what your response is? For I'm just an artist, I just want to know what art is before I am gone. Now I'm lost inside of my thoughts. What's with the dance?